So we are at the Academy for Peace for a community conversation with Miss Rashad and a birthday celebration for Dr. J. Mack. Tune in.
Who invited me? In that big bag, in that big bag. I had to switch from my red one. You guys, oh no. I had that stuff hanging out like you like coffee.
I still do.
This is one of my bags.
She got me working. She got me
You're
working.
looking kind of cute there, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're gonna introduce, because you have some people here.
Yes.
Queen Mother.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, you tell me. Dr. Jackson. You know we're live here, and supposedly it's going live to YouTube.
Give me a place to eat. Start slow. You know, I gotta put my socks on. I got my socks. Mom, the queen, right? Oh, man.
Yes.
Wait.
Hold on. Look, she got me.
Hey, I got the drink on. Wait.
You look. So let me finish trying to set this up. Saturday's the dress up, right? Saturday. You should be. All day long.
Don't say that man always. Okay. Do I have lipstick in the wrong place? I ain't know.
No, do it. Go right underneath your lips a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh no. Right here.
Oh, wait a minute.
The paper towel right here.
I'm so glad you came. Oh, wait a minute. That's wrong. I got everything wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Girl, look, hold up, let me finish this.
That's my mom. Somebody coming in. Hey, brother. We're getting ready for our community conversation, and I'm going to invite you to find us.
Hello, how are you? I'm well. Look, she knows. Dr. J done threw all this stuff back here.
It's my birthday.
Where you? Yeah, you see, I said I should have sat over there because I know I'm gonna need to plug in.
It's a line from the Delaware Black Chamber of Commerce. Miss Tanya, Miss Extra, we have programming tonight. Who is Mr. Omar? You know him from Channel 28. You know him from Zoom and YouTube Live. Can I have some quiet, please? It is my pleasure to get this party started. I'm going to ask Ms. Ayana to come on up and greet us from the Delaware Chamber of Black Chamber of Commerce.
Newest Chamber of Commerce in the state, the newly founded Chamber of Commerce. We are affiliated with the Chamber of Commerce, and we are the all-inclusive chamber.
Yes.
Resources, education, and training to the small business community, specifically the minority community. You can find us at www.org. And you guys can shoot me an email, call me at any time. If you have any questions. Thank you for having me, Dr. J. Congratulations to Dr. J. 20 years in business, like that's amazing. And happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And we're so delighted to be a partner. As you can see, we have our official partner certificate there. And I also would like to announce that we were just nominated for the Jefferson Award.
Yeah.
The Pulitzer Prize and the what's the other one? Nobel Peace Prize of Human Service. And yeah, so we were if you look closely at the certificate, it's signed by Whoopi Goldberg and Michael Douglas. The Jefferson Award was established by Jacqueline Kennedy. Had no idea, but here we are. So we are grateful. Stop the Violence Coalition, for those that may not know, started when little 5-year-old Damon Gibbs Jr. and 21-year-old Darnell Evans were both killed gaming land slaying style in the barbershop. From that time, there was an outcry of all segments of the community that something be done. And here we are in 2021, 20 years later, and we're still mission minded, message minded, and we're still movement minded. And so, with 20 years as I started out as a consulting executive director, founding executive director, but it became a life for me, a mission. And someone, before they died, Reverend Dr. Maurice J. Moyer, who, if you know that name, he was an illustrious civil rights leader in our state and in the nation. Before he died, he said to me, daughter, tell the story. Continue to tell the story. And so when I get a little tired sometimes, I just hear his voice saying, daughter, tell the story. And so here I am telling the story. Constantly. And I didn't see more coming into it. When I say this, I'm not exaggerating in the least. Coming into every board meeting. Coming into every meeting. Almost 90. So how could I not persist? How could I not press on? How could I not be doing this 20 years later when I have such a wonderful mentor and example of godliness and persistence? Be not weary in well-doing, for if you faint not, you reap, and you reap in the strangest way, because God has a plan. And you all are representative of his plan. You all are representative of reaping the harvest. As long as there's seed in the ground, there's going to be a harvest. And so I thank God for each one of you who are team players, each one of you who have made a difference to keeping this vision alive. And we, Saturday, if you come, we are having our red carpet event up and down the sidewalk here. And you'll see our youth group, the fashion steppers, they will be in full performance mode. And that's not it. That's the youth. And we say, saving our youth today for a brighter tomorrow. And if that's all I can do to keep the vision alive, that's what I'll do. Here's the good news. Everybody ready for this?
Yeah.
Monday was my official formal day of not working for nobody. For peace, with me, this mission, and stop the violence coalition. Hopefully, every day we do a multiplicity of things. This is what we call the peace mayor empowerment zone. Mr. Ron, is that you? Mr. Ron is a partner with Revolve Staffing and Employment. He is one of our newest partners here. We will be helping the community become employed after COVID. And even now, we have started to have clients come in, and it's free of charge. Free of charge. And we will help you with your resume. We'll help you with your ad. Whatever you need to become employed. We also have a new partner, and I am delighted. Jane Conley, who is really like a sister friend right now, because she represents the Old Neighborhood Foundation. And Eunice and I are both foundation board members, but Jane represents the one who came to me and said, you know, I'm interested in what you do. Why did she come to me and ask me that? Because I was raised on the east side and grew up in Old Sweet Episcopal Church. Isn't that something? As one of the few Black people there. I think for a while we were only. But here's the good news. It came back full circle because I have a history and I have a story. So keep your story. I like what my baby over there is doing. When she comes on Facebook, I'm on it because I know she's going to tell the story of her journey. And she got one to tell. So we're going to get ready to hear. I also want to acknowledge Ms. Annette Fletcher, who is the presenter of the Miss Bday Gallery Pageant. Big, beautiful woman. Woo, woo! I have the pleasure of having that as a partner opportunity in that last 2 years ago, before COVID, we were able to do the pageant at Chase Center on the riverfront. It was awesome. Yeah. And it was the first in the state of that kind. And I continue to be the queen mother. Yes. And it is one of my loves. And this is one of our pageant queens. Yeah. Yes, indeed. And I'm telling you, we have so much fun here. And it's open to everyone. And how do I know that? Don't raise your hand in the air and act like you belong here. This is the Bible College. Yeah. And Pastor Paul has a ministry, and it is the Greater Grace Ministry, and it's represented right here. Amen. But not only that, it's a full Bible college. I have had a Bible college for what? Since 1997, and there are some graduates in the room who raise your hand. But these three lovely ladies are in the Bible college right now in their first year in a 3-year program to receive a certificate of ministry. And so, I don't know if anybody wants to turn around and she could talk about these. Years, 30 years. That program right there, Art as Prevention, we have been doing 20 years in the parks throughout Wilmington through our state summer fest that we started years ago. So, Mr. Omar, you didn't know your paper. You have what we call community conversations. And we may talk about any stuff. We talk about ministry. We talk about youth. We talk about mental health. We talk about sexuality. You name it, we're probably going to talk about it on the Deep Blue Sofa, where Miss I pleased to honor Mr. Paul Rashada with hosting our Deep Blue Sofa conversation. And tonight, because of empowerment week, we're going to talk about empowerment. So I'm going to let those on the panel tonight, Mr. Omar, take it over. Did I forget anybody? I don't want to forget nobody. I think I got everybody. Yeah, I say you know it's my cousin. Okay. We're gonna close this.
Lord, I can't even get loose. All right, sit with me.
Oh man, we're getting packed. This is great. Happy birthday to you. Welcome, Miss Renee. Go ahead, Mr. Omar. Yeah, if you feel comfortable. Now, let me just say this, look like you're 6 feet apart, because we will get notices from people, and they will say, guess what? They weren't COVID protocol sensitive. Don't tell me that they don't do it, because they've done it.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good evening.
Welcome to this special edition of Gathering of the Peace, 5 business owners. So we're going to be interviewing them. Please welcome my guests. We're going to have everybody just introduce themselves briefly talk about what you do.
Wow, how do I know that? I always like to be last, because I'll be first. But my name is Pastor Carl, and I am a business owner of My Tire Connection. I have a wholesale commercial truck tire company, retail, major trucking companies throughout the state of Delaware, but I own Pennsylvania and Delaware. I've been a business owner for 10 years. Started off the ground with $50, and it's called a vision and a need that trucks will run all the time. So I gave me vision to meet the needs of people and meet the needs of people and to ministry, because that's where we want to be, where there's needs of people, but we know that the bigger need is the spiritual need. So the tires are in road to now what I call full-time ministry. So that's what I do.
Hello, everyone. Ayana Khan. I wear several different hats, but currently I am the founder, president of the newly founded Delaware Black Chamber of Commerce, the All Inclusive Chamber, and we provide resources, education, and training small business owners, specifically in the minority community, which was a demographic that was hit the hardest by the pandemic. We are going through 3 different pandemics right now. The coronavirus, what's happening with the small businesses, the coronavirus is happening with social injustice in our nation, and also the injustices when it comes to our law enforcement. So the small business community was hit hardest by these pandemics, of lack of resources, of the challenges that we different from our counterparts. So we're just here to educate our members so they become and continue to grow and scale.
My name is Fernando Feliciano, and I like to say that I'm a network entrepreneur that work in multi-level marketing. I currently have 2 network marketing businesses that I'm involved in. One I've been involved in for about 2.5 years, called Connect, provides energy and awareness agents with a host of other products. But those are our 2 major products. I like the opportunity because it allows you to keep your cost low. There's a lot of opportunities in network marketing, although sometimes it does get a bad name. Like, you can build a pretty good residual income, life-changing type of income that could allow you to free you up and become have time to do certain things you want to do. So one of them connect, the second one is called Luca, it's a wellness company. And the products are outstanding. Plant-based derivative, but not plant-based as well. So it kind of took to be an eco-friendly type product for your household, and to keep your home clean and toxic, non-toxic, to keep it free from any type of toxins. So I do those things. I do have a few people that I work under me as well, in different states as well. So it does touch hands everywhere. And I'm just enjoying it, and I'm looking to continue to do it.
Hi, my name is Tanya Williams, and I am a serial entrepreneur. I am the chief visionary officer of an organization called Marriage to Link.
Yeah.
Where we provide comprehensive relationship training to faith-based organizations, corporations, government, as well as on a global perspective, teaching individuals how to navigate communication skills, personal and professional life, as well as the marriage relationships. In addition to that, we own a construction company, we service residential, small and mid-sized projects of commercial. In addition to that, we have a small business, we handle the small size projects throughout various states. And so, we just like to have fun. So I don't look at it just collaborate.
Yeah.
Jason Rodriguez.
Own a property insurance services, insurance brokerage located in Delaware. We service the tri-state area with insurance products that everybody needs to know. I make it plain, allow people to understand what we're doing, and we report on home, business, and land.
I want to start off with Jason when I ask all of the guests. What inspired you to want to be in so? Because a lot of people say, there are those who say, I want to start my own business. I'm going to do it. There are those who are afraid to start their own business. All 5 people are so inspired to be business owners, business managers, business leaders. What inspired you to do this?
What inspired me at times, freedom, being able to, raise my children and do things that I desire in life. Still a property, you know, as a business owner, you got to work harder to do your job. But it's just the freedom and the time to be able to move around and do the things that instead of
So my journey is a little different. Both of my parents are the only job that I know that both of my parents have for 48 years old is their job. So they worked in their job and they retired from the job that they worked in all their life. It wasn't until I experienced a financial hardship in 2005 or 2004, 2005, where I lost a six-figure income as a corporate executive, and I didn't have a college at the time of the market. As a direct result of that, I was also going through a divorce, and I had property in dual states, which is PG County and Delaware as my primary residence. As a direct result of that, going through a divorce, Delaware is an equitable distribution state because I was a six-figure earner. I had to take care of my ex-husband while I was losing everything because of the state's laws, and I became home. Trying to put my children through it and also carry the weight of financially taking care of the expenses for it. I was inspired by the YWCA at the time, their economic development program. And there is a young lady who encouraged me to marry my program. Her name is Carol Kate. She is over at EMI Gateway, but she at the time was the director of the YWCA economic development program. Which, while homeless, I birthed my first business, so I transferred my skills from corporate America into my business consulting firm. And while I was homeless, I was able to land my first contract that was awarded by the government at the time. And that is how I was able to start the trailblaze of entrepreneurship. And I married my husband now, who is self-employed for the last 21 years.
Yeah.
And so as a direct result, he reared me, he made my business, he helped coach me through the process, helped me understand the process. And I can be honest with you, entrepreneurship is not for the weak. Entrepreneurship is also not a government-related job nor an employee mentality. You definitely have to carry an employer mantle when navigating through markets because we do get financial success along the journey. My collaboration and partnership, not just locally, but across multiple states, have given me the ability to be able to stay thriving in problematic situations. You know, there's growth days and there's good days.
Yeah.
And And so, learning how to survive at the lowest peak of my life in the shelter gave me the opportunity to be able to use the talent that I had.
Fernando, what inspired you?
Well, I always had it in me. I visited as a kid, I should say, or in high school. I always wanted to have some type of business done. So I went to Howard High School of Technology. And I chose business professionals of America, BDA. And learned some, thinking business skills, typing skills, and flow charts, asset, liability charts, things of that nature. And then they also would do certain fundraising. So fundraisers where you would you would sell candy, and then you were sell the candy. You were the top seller, they'll pay for your trip. To be honest, money was a little tight. My mother basically going to working hard to try to make that piece work. So I took to that. So wow. I didn't have to pay for any of my trips to go learn about certain things. Just get a look at it. So that kind of just drove me out the top seller, and it got to the point where I started selling it on my own. After they stopped, I was still with that, so I started buying it myself and making a little profit out of it. After I graduated in '95, 2 years later, me and my brother and a cousin of mine, we formed a promotion company called Bday Enterprises, MBD, and we started promoting a social event. At the waterworks, barrels, before celebration, we see that night on barrels every Thursday. Every celebration, we do there as well. We would do that as well. So, we did that for about like 2015, kind of dressed it off. Then I got involved into network marketing. And that right there is kind of like, I saw an opportunity with network marketing because start a business, you have to have some type of capital. You have to have someone on the back of an investor, or even take a chance on a small business loan or a loan. But one thing I like about network marketing is the fact that your overhead is low level. Starting for a network marketing business, $500, but that can build you a residual income every month. A consistent income, and the more that you build the opportunity as well as get people to see the same vision. It does take a mindset of mindset. And it is hard, entrepreneurship is not easy. You're going to get tested. It's tough. Sometimes you're going to have those days where you're like, I'm done. And then, some days you're going to be like, I can't quit. You know what I mean? So, it definitely motivated me to continue to go forward. I got other things going on with real estate coming up in 2021. So, and I got a chance to meet a lot of different people as well. Connect with a lot of different people through this journey with right now.
Well, for me, I was raised by entrepreneurs. My dad knows the global business for himself and my family. So that's all I know. However, they always pushed education onto us. So, we were always taught, go to school, get your college degree. Went to school, got a couple of degrees, worked for corporate America. Got laid off from a major corporation in 2015. At that point, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. Decided I didn't want to go back and work in corporate, but I decided, what do I want to do? I had to reevaluate what I wanted to do, because in corporate America, they will always go through these transitions, and they can lay you off at any point in time, right? So I didn't want to go through that transition again. So I started doing research. I know I wanted to get back to the community. Then I want to start another nonprofit. So okay, what's the one thing a nonprofit need in the state, right? It's funding. They have challenges when it comes to funding. So I volunteered with a local nonprofit in Middletown, and I decided I wanted to get into grant writing. So I wrote my first grant for that small nonprofit, and they received the grant. And it was a state grant. They received the grant. And started doing more research and writing more grants, and I realized that I was good at it. So that's when I launched my business in 2015, which is Crown Consulting LLC, located in Middletown, and our primary service is grant research and grant writing. So you're just the inception, we raised over 4.5 million in grant writing. That's one trial client. So been involved in the business community since then. Sat on a board, a chamber of commerce, to leverage my business. And last year, I kind of had like an epiphany where I'm sitting on this board, personally Black woman on this board, and the pandemic hit. And then I realized, okay, some things were going on, transpiring where, you know, I was hearing and seeing where Black businesses, well, all businesses really were closing down, but Black businesses were closing at a faster rate. So what were we gonna do? I figured that, you know, the community needs to do something to be different, because for me, what the light bulb for me was being a 20-year-old business that my family and I patronized went out of business. Basically, they couldn't make the rent. And that broke my heart. And this was not a minority. So I did some research. There were two major chamber federations in the nation: National Black Chamber Federation, Youth Black Chamber Federation. So that's when I decided, you know, I'm gonna make a difference. I'm gonna transfer the thing. Stop complaining and do something. You know, you can't complain. If you like, you know, shut up and let, right? So that's when this research partnered with the National Black Chamber Federation and launched the Delaware Black Chamber of Commerce. And we kind of hit the ground running. 7 months in, we're at 249 members, and just grateful, super grateful for those businesses that trusted us well in the pandemic, that we were able to assist with their needs. You know, getting PPP loans, getting the EIDL loans, getting training, getting, you know, just access to things that we just didn't know were out there for them. So, you know, that's really how I got into the entrepreneurship. I was really always in me. I had to find that.
Great testimony, by the way. They all sound similar. How we all like move forward. For me, I always knew I was a pace setter. Pace setter is somebody who sees a vision, then they move based in the vision, but then it takes something. It took something that I didn't have, that was faith. And faith that, like, what God said I could do in Him, then I could put that to work. And not only that, I could see myself being unlearning some things. Unlearning some things means the way I was taught to grow up, to get a job, you know, pay your bills. It was kind of like the struggle mentality.
Well,
And I didn't like that. I didn't like others who were in my presence to like it. So then I found myself being set apart, right? To be different. So that being different, it caused some, you know, waves with friends and people, because they always would bet against you. You couldn't do it because they knew about it, right? They knew about your failures, they knew about your background, they knew things that really, you know, society would hold us to this value that we're really an outcast. So by God setting the pace, you know, I decided that, you know, starting a business would be a tall challenge, but I was up for it, because that's who I am, right? You say I can't, I say I can't. So I need those people. right? And I had a lot of them, so it really empowered me. You're not smart. You don't have any education. You know, how can you do this when you've never been to school, right? I said, but I have a will, I have a desire.
There you go.
And then I started a business in really 1998 with a cell phone business. We all remember the bag phones and the phones and the car phone. And I was fascinated with the car phone. I had an antenna on the car, I could ride around, I could get a phone call. So man, I was like, I gotta check this out. So I started cell phones like 8 stores, retail stores. And then I saw the trend taken where, you know, Best Buy is a Walmart place to pop up. I sold the business. You know, I saw the curve out of it. Then I moved to Baltimore, where I think God called me into another business. That was the ministry. And the ministry being in Baltimore for, you know, over 20 some years to develop really a skill set to be a pastor. It was like, how am I going to do this? When I don't, you know, I got to get rid of the business. I don't have a job. I'm not going back to work with people because I broke the back of slavery.
Wow.
Right? The slave mentality, it says, I got to earn from you in order to live. And God says, no, you have to follow me and you will live. And when I learned that principle, I learned that I could start over, still go to school, still be free, right? And I can still now serve what I thought was my main call was to pastor people, build people, and show them a future in Christ, like Paul and those guys were tent makers. You know, they all, you know, fishermen, right? But they wasn't smart people. So I learned to follow those of an example, and that just gave me that will to say, all right, I have a tire business now. I've been doing it for 10 years. You know, it's a well-oiled business. Obviously, we know people need tires, but God supplied that. All I had to do was follow Him and not get His glory for it. And God says, I'll bless that so that you can go tell others how they too can succeed in Christ, right? Christ first, business second, right? I'm married, beautiful wife, family. My children are all grown, so I'm 60 now. I'm great. I'm loving life, right? And hey, there is up and down, right? Businesses go broke, they come back, right? You just gotta have the staying power, right? The faith that will pass too. And then you just continue to learn in those times things that you would never learn if you didn't have those times. So that's what got me into business. It's just being trusting the Lord, having faith in what God said I could do, based on not myself. So I empower everybody to try it.
I would say, someone must start this. What is some of the first steps you should take? Myself,
I would say, you know, find what your hobbies are. Find what your passions are, your hobbies, and turn that into a business. You have to love what you're doing. And it's not work when you love what you're doing.
That's right.
So I would say that's the first step. Secondly, make a checklist. I live and die by checklist. I give checklists to my clients. Make a checklist for yourself so you have all your ducks in a row. So you know what it takes to run a legit, registered, successful business entity. And you know, you take it from there. You find the mentors in your community and people that want to help you. There's gonna be lots of naysayers, but it's your passion. You know, follow your mentors and just the strong. You know, people that are smarter than you, that have done it before, and that knows what the path looks like is like.
If you go something.
all right, so I want to ask you, you mentioned how the basis failed. They say
we all, I know I started off at really a great mind. In sales, I was a great salesman. I mean, I was 80% closing. So, that word, right? Pretty much 8 out of 10 people I saw, whatever product I had, they bought. But I realized I was a good salesman, but I really wasn't good business. Really understand what it takes to seed the business, to grow it, what was behind the scenes, insurances, and things like that. So I think where I learned a lot was that I needed that training, really, behind the idea of what I had. I wasn't a business, I wasn't a per se businessman and a salesman. I had either wear one hat or the other. Couldn't wear both of them. Couldn't be a salesman. I couldn't build behind the scenes too because it was just too much. But then I think that's why most times business fails, because they don't have short-term goals. They don't look at long-term, right? They don't look at where things are going or headed. And then they don't properly prepare for those things. Or the other thing is, when you look at business, you begin to look at the money, right? But like she said, until you love what you do, the money follows.
That's right.
But if you don't love what you do, that's another step. Because all of a sudden it's like, I don't really like this business, and you jump this and
That's
that,
right.
and you're constantly never really succeeding in business. That's what I'm.
Absolutely. I definitely like a lot of that as well, because a lot of times you have businesses where someone has an idea of something, they just look at the end result, they forget about trials, tribulations, gonna have to go.
Right.
So they do what they see it, they see the end result, they're not focused on the little steps you have to take to get there. The other thing I think is the research. Sometimes lack of research can be also an issue, where you thought maybe you had a lane on your own and come to find out it's not your, it's not, you're not the first person in this lane. There were people that came before you. And then also, as you said, if it's not a passion, then and it's a money mode, it's driven by the money factor, and that's what's going to be your cost. Now you're like, oh, I'm short. And it's like, well, how am I gonna get this next product? How am I gonna do this? Instead of relying on faith and building that foundation with trust and passion you had, like you said, it comes. But if you build it out of passion and out of love, money is going to distract you, like what you build it on. So yeah, I definitely say that it's lack of research. Just having that, just looking at the end result instead of taking steps. Get to where the passion part. If it's just money driven, sometimes that's not going to survive.
I'm gonna ask another question. So the audience have a question. All five of you, because you have no business. I assume that all of you have to work. Form or another. How does it feel? Passion that you create, business that you create, that people work on, you create a job. And nowadays, the COVID-19 got a hard time. So talk about the personal satisfaction that you have being able to hire so either family, just this year of opportunity. Many of us like this person very comfortable. This is all that question. That last question. As well, and then spiritual influence. So it might be, it might be hurdles that we overcome that you may have experienced before, just navigating through that. And I don't know if you have connected. But then while I fall right in that hole, you can help me. So that's what happens a lot of times. It's not that we don't have to know how to do resources. So it goes to the second question. You provide an opportunity to do especially when you got so much talent, and especially with us in our community, they feel that, it's just so much, just to give them an opportunity and show them that you can do it. That's it for it. They don't see that, they look at all players and fans, they don't see thriving business people that they can point to and say, hey, but you, I stayed the ball. You gave it, then you got to build it. That's what you show. You have programs where they're able to, but you got to anybody that works with me, I let them into the back door. I see what I show them, they got work. I show them what it is from the payroll, or the call payroll company. Let them do certain things, so they can see their paying by training to actually provide opportunities. They just have to do one. Some, you know.
Amen. Well, my purpose on earth is purpose. So at the age of 22, when I was a single mother raising a child and starting to move straight into the financial industry, making $17,800, I remember it, and my parents being upset because I dropped out of college. A gentleman who went through an acquisition saw my talent. He said, "You know how to get to the result, you just don't know how." And as a result of that executive, he poured into and he taught me between the age of 22 to 25 how to go from 17 to 65 by 26, that age, by 31, 19. But in doing all of that, he showed me the importance of building a team and building collaboration and being able to identify and protect the lowest in the top performer. I've managed special needs, every line, ADHD, whatever you, but how do I make sure that they all come together where no one is singled out and providing them with individualized needs? Because of that experience at such an early age, managing up to 300 people in 4 locations and going through 6 acquisitions and mergers, I've been afforded the opportunity to say, how do I integrate that into my contact? So very early on, I knew the importance of and hiring people and professionals, whether they are low or whether they're high end. And as a result of that, I watched my husband, who had a full staff, then having to simplify through and survive the housing in 2008 crisis, right? And survive through all of that. I watched all of that, and then I also watched how we staggered out and said, when we start my organization, before we start any simplification or hiring, we first need to understand what professionals need up front that are diversified in order to simplify operations and then hire people. So those professionals, I've been able to look at talent, and it doesn't necessarily mean, if I'm looking at talent from a perspective of capacity. What capacity means is, does the person have the capability to hold their stick-to-itiveness in your operations, through tests or trials? I'll give you this example and I'll leave it at this. In corporate America, I had an employee who did not meet the simulation to get through the prerequisite. That means you can't come through HR, you can't come through. They banged down the doors of HR and said, "Could I please get an interview? Could I please?" They said, "No." "Could I please see the boss in this department that they're hiring?" "No, you can't." The person was so adamant about getting in to the point that they contacted me and asked if I would potentially do an interview. They knew it was against all regulations. But this young lady said to me, I said, "Let her come in my office." Just let her come in. She came into my office. She was a mother of 5 children. Her only job was a Kentucky Fried person. As a result of that, she said, "I don't have the skill sets and I don't know how to be situational model to even get in." She said, "But I guarantee you that if you hire me, I'll be your best employee. Could you make an exception for me?" We made an exception, and in 1 year, she purchased her first home. She turned around and put her child in college. In addition to that, she was the top performer in the department. And then we invested in her education. So when you see in my organization, I am right now for one of them, don't get full of feet. but I have 90% professional. Once we deploy the next pandemic, we're now hiring the rest, because we now have automated. But what I'm saying is that we have a very diversified team of experts that's around me, but that has a lot to do with us pulling up and always having people above us who can pull us up. If you don't have that working paradigm around you, I would say that it's very dissatisfaction. Because you have professionals, if you want to say how I gave back to professionals who are small businesses that need to stay employed in their business while we're all trying to survive to stay in business. That's what I did in the pandemic, and so that was a little different approach from our construction side. We kept people on payroll because construction never closed, construction never slowed down. Matter of fact, the pandemic was the best thing that could have ever happened.
All right. So, with network marketing, we try to stay away from the word employee. I like to refer to it as business partner. Whether you're a person who has no first time considering it, or someone who's experienced, we always say business partner. So when first thing I like to do is I want to be the person that I want to have. I want to affect the leader. I got to be it. And so now I have people that show interest in the opportunity. First thing we did is develop what is called a duplicated system, especially for people who don't have experience. We have a foundation for them, or something for them to follow. Because the turnover rate in network marketing is very high. It takes we have a system that helps us meet more people as well. And if you don't see the system, so for example, we give 10 people that if you come on board, you want to take advantage of the opportunity, see the vision. And we don't try to put those forward, we give you the real deal, that's what it is, what we can do to help you. And we'll be there with you the whole time, away for a business partner. But if I have 5 people that are interested in the opportunity, and out of 5 I give them homework. And I say, okay, you guys got to do this here, put your list together, here's the system, follow it, here's the startup, I'll walk you through the process. Get back with me when you're done. Out of those 5, I'll get back. Now I know who to work with. Forward. The other 6 haven't got that like that. But for the most part, yeah, it's definitely
Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Let's be real. You have to understand your personality, your leadership skills, what skills, hobbies you have. It's not for everyone. You don't want to shame anyone that has a 9-to-5 W2 job. It's not for everyone. But you could be just as successful. But for me, building wealth, building a legacy is an entrepreneurship. Right? And that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Building people, right? That's our business. And God said in Deuteronomy 28, verse 13, it's that or from above. So we look at everything from above, people from above, right? And then we see God build people. And when we build people, people build businesses. So that's what my thing is. Anybody that's in our presence, whether they're working 9 to 5 or whatever it is, it's about building people. When you build people, then they'll catch what you taught, because they'll watch you and says, you know what, I can do that too. A leader is actually a leader who serves under, right? Like my leadership, I don't serve from the top, I serve from the bottom. I'm a servant leader. Because I'm a servant leader, I bring people above. That's what we're called to do. That's how we build our communities. That's how we build each other, right? No, not down, but up. So that's my thought.
I think
I want to thank Mr. Omar for doing such a fantastic job. I think it's wonderful that we can, on this, our empowerment week for the year. I want to thank all of you. This has been wonderful. Wonderful because for some of you, it's reconnect.
Yeah.
Now you know a little bit about what we do as well. And I'm so pleased to hear about what you do. It's as if I am reconnecting with the community.
Yeah.
I have been in this community since I was 8 years old. And my mission and purpose has always been the same, to bring people into connection with others, be it through ministry or through I say I'm a home-based business junkie. I'm an entrepreneur. I have been since I was 8 years old. I've always had some sort of home-based business. Even when I worked in the government, worked in banking, worked in my home vineyard. Hello. But it's always, as Pastor Cole said, to push people up.
Yeah.
Never pulling down, but pushing up. So thank you, panel. Somebody said, I came for a party. Well, don't you know, for a home-based business junkie and an entrepreneur, that this is the party. By listening and learning. And
Yeah.
you haven't heard my story. But I'm not going to share it right now. But I had a home-based business that had 75% of the market share of restaurant food cleaning. 75%. A man who owned $1 million business taught me the business of what chemicals to use, how to do it. And I ran that business, my daughter, it's written in the annals of Delaware history. We had that business for about 15 years. My last and largest client was Wilmington University. We did all of their stacks. It's a very technical business. And I was one of the few women in the business. And guess who I hired? The homeless exclusive. And some of my men were making $500 a day. So can you imagine? And that was only doing 3 or 4 goods. It's a very lucrative business. And while I was in banking, my daughter was the office manager. We invested her education in Golden Youth College. So you see, there is nothing impossible if you, number one, believe you can do it. And there are 3 keys to success. They are desire, ability, and opportunity. And here's what I know for sure. If you have the desire to do, you'll do it. Because you can have all the ability and all of the opportunities in the world, but if you don't exercise that first desire to do it, the ability doesn't do you any good, nor does the opportunity. You're right. You're right. And so I thank God for our panel today. And part of being an entrepreneur is that you don't mind sharing your gifts, your talents, your ability, and yourself. See, I didn't do a workshop for you, but I know. We didn't ready to turn this up. I know. There ain't no shame to my head. I am who I am. But you know what? I know in whom I believe, and I'm persuaded that he'll keep.
Yeah.
Right. Ain't no shame. There's no in here and out here. I'm all in. I'm all in. And I thank every one of you for coming in. Andre and Bishop, they're part of the team now. We're glad to have you here. Summer Rose, the actress, is in the building. My best friend, when I was at the city planning department, I was the first female African American planner, city planner, worked for 2 mayors. And I don't tell these stories, but since this is my life. And guess what? I almost got to open up the food. I want to hear some Celebrate by Kool and the Gang to get this party started. We have some refreshments, some more fun coming. We're gonna do a photo shoot. And here's my family. Hey! Come on, everybody. Everybody on the floor.
What you say? Saturday? Yeah. Yeah. Round the 10. I need her information. Yeah. Right. Couple questions. Starting my business as well. Got DJ Tim Dog in the house. Lock the side. Where's the other lady go? Right, Sharon. Sharon, here. Go ahead. What is it?
It's the International Punk. We're Ricky Friends. Go to Delaware State.
Do you guys hear her?
This is our 20th year.
25th year?
20.
20th year?
Yes. We're doing this on Zoom because of the pandemic. We're doing it on Zoom.
Okay, so she's sharing the event, you guys.
Please share this.
I don't know if you guys saw this. Yeah. You know, he's not like a little boy anymore. Oh, how are you? Yeah, she got me in school and I got the you want to say something? She's right here. Hi. Yes. The Academy for Peace Community Conversation with 5 business owners. I hope you stay tuned for other events and activities that are happening at the Academy for Peace. We are also celebrating Dr. J's birthday. So be sure to check out the Academy for Peace in Wilmington, Delaware at 203